This is Michigan, and Michigan will survive anything. I'll tell you that right now.
Who would ever thought that you can go out and win a national championship and losing your head coach at the same time, right before the tournament starts?
Big news in the Michigan camp. Bill Frieder accepted the job at Arizona State, and the athletics director up in Michigan said, "Bill, you're not going to be on my bench."
The adversity and the struggle made us focus, made us concentrate, and made us care about each other.
It has been hectic, there's no question about that.
Sometimes it seemed like an eternity as it unfolded, and other times it seemed like it happened in 2 seconds.
To understand just how the 1989 Michigan Wolverines rose to the top of the college basketball world, you must start with the man who didn't make it all the way across the finish line.
You know, for 16 years I've been there, and this is the first time I had to buy a ticket to go to a game, and it's just going to be different.
Bill Frieder, Michigan-born, Wolverine-bred. He coached Flint Northern High School to 2 state titles before returning to Ann Arbor as an assistant to Johnny Orr in 1973.
I was very fortunate in 1980 when Johnny Orr went to Iowa State, because I was the head assistant and we were doing very well. I was fortunate to get the job.
Cross into motion. Cross.
Bill Frieder is a unique individual. The towel across the shoulder, disheveled hair, looking like a madman on the sidelines, jumping up and down.
He was kind of a crazed genius in his own way. Manic, driven, obsessed. I had not heard the word multitasking at that point in history, but he was always doing at least 2 things.
Everyone talks about, mathematically how he was very smart, how he was very adept at playing cards and was kicked out of several casinos in Vegas.
Just relentless. He started recruiting me out of high school right at around, 15, 16 years old.
You're looking down on the biggest house in college football, Michigan Stadium, Ann Arbor.
Frieder oversaw a basketball program that fought for attention in the vast shadow cast by the football powerhouse next door.
Basketball probably was taken a look as the number 2 sport. Maybe you could even look at it as the number 3 sport, because it was football, football, basketball.
We were just trying to win as much games as we could and try to make it at least football, basketball in the same sentence.
On behalf of some great Wolverines, I accept this trophy!
The differences between Frieder and the legendary leader of the football program, Bo Schembechler, couldn't have been more striking.
Bo Schembechler and Coach Frieder, it's like night and day. You can't compare those 2 guys, because Coach Schembechler has a hard-nosed blue-collar approach. Bill Frieder was a player's coach.
He was full of energy, very honest, a guy that, really seemed to care about the person and not just the athlete and what the athlete could do for his basketball program.
Sometimes he'd come to practice in flip-flops and have that kind of demeanor around the guys, which is kind of laid back. He wasn't a huge X's and O's guy, but he brought in the right combination. And he said, hey, guys, go out there and you get it done.
Tarpley, got it! The game is over!
Despite winning the NIT in 1984 and the regular season Big Ten title in 1985 and 1986, continued NCAA tournament flameouts haunted Frieder's program throughout the decade.
It was like something was always missing. You always need that key shot or that key turnover or something, and we never got that stop, and we never got that key shot.
You'd go to the gym and there'd be signs out there, Fire Frieder. They'd chant that, Fire Frieder. Because, again, the team was so much talent, never got to where it was supposed to get to.
Anytime you fall a little short of expectations, the fans aren't happy. But we lost in '85. We lost to the Villanova team that won the national championship, and we played them better than any other team did.
When you take a look at his records through the years at Michigan, they were very good. But everyone looked at this crazy wild guy that's on the bench. So I don't think he was ever given the kind of respect that you would expect a Michigan coach to have.
Arriving in Ann Arbor in 1984, Gary Grant quickly cemented his position as a leader for the Wolverines. earning consensus All-American honors in 1988.
We call him the general. When you talk defense at the University of Michigan, his name got to come up first.
He was the glue that took us to the next level, which was winning Big Ten championships.
In 1988, after the Maize and Blue fell to North Carolina in the NCAA tournament for the second straight season, the Michigan point guard torch passed from Gary Grant to Ramil Robinson, who had scored 29 points in the loss to the Tar Heels.
I remember talking to Ramil Robinson after the game that we're going to go to the Final Four the next year.
Ramil Robinson is the key to this basketball team, and we have to knock on wood and hope that he stays healthy.
You know, the thing about Ramil is he was very sophisticated. He would dress well and present himself well. I always felt Ramil was kind of a grown man in a kid's body.
Ramil was the type player where you couldn't really tell him nothing, because if he had his vision of doing it that way, he was going to do it that way, and that's what made him successful.
It was a struggle for him. I mean, Ramil was a scorer. We had many conversations that, man, I don't know if I can do this. And I just tell him, yes, you can. Just settle down and just be you.
No Wolverine heeded the "Be You" mantra more than the man who spoke those words. Sweet shooting senior Glen Rice, who earned Michigan's Mr. Basketball at Flint Northwestern before moving on to Ann Arbor to lead the Big Ten in scoring as a junior in 1988.
As hard a worker as I've seen, Glen worked on shooting before practice, after practice, for 4 straight years.
I would shoot at least a couple thousand a day. I would shoot until it almost felt like my arm was going to fall off. For me, that was my way of conditioning my body to continue to keep form for my jump shot.
There were stretches in practice for him where he literally wouldn't miss shots. We'd play scrimmage games, and he'd go, 12 for 12, 15 for 15. I mean, just like, wow, because he was just that good.
Glen Rice was an incredibly quiet guy. When I first interviewed him early in his career, he could barely speak a sentence.
Each year I became a little more vocal and understood that one day I'll be asked to step into that leadership role.
Rice's leadership skills faced an early challenge in Sean Higgins, a California high school star who had yet to fulfill his tantalizing potential at Ann Arbor since his controversial arrival the previous season.
When they voided the letter where he could not go to UCLA, then he wanted to come to Michigan. He called me, said, "Coach, can I still come to Michigan?" I thought he was kidding.
I got humbled when I got on campus. First of all, Glen Rice humbled me, because he was the first guy to really teach me what it was about to play hard on every possession.
Yes, he did.
I was on Sean Higgins constantly. We always used to say, "Sean, you're a knucklehead." This guy had unbelievable talent. It's just that, a lot of times he would take nights off.
The change with the greatest repercussions to the basketball program came from above, when Bo Schembechler took the reins as athletic director in the summer of 1988, replacing the retiring Don Canham.
I love Don Canham. The fact that he had coached, I think, gave him a lot of stability in staying with his coaches.
He and Canham were kindred spirits in many ways. Canham was a showman and a guy who liked to buck and very focused.
You've now got a legend that's the athletic director. I mean, Bo Schembechler was Michigan. There's no question about that, and Bo is bigger than life.
I love Bo. Bo always, I thought, supported basketball, and I thought we were good friends.
Bo and Frieder got along quite well until Bo became the AD. And then once I'm your boss, the things that are different than my style become a problem, become friction points.
My first experience of actually meeting Bo, he said, "You know what Michigan time is? 15 minutes early is Michigan time. So if you're not there before class 15 minutes early, then you're late for class."
When Bo came in and you had Freeds, it was like night and day. And I think that might be why Freeds was maybe trying to take a look at leaving.
Bo's teams dressed in blazers, ties, and shirts. Frieder's teams dressed in sweatpants when they went on the road. Jeans and T-shirts, sweatpants, whatever they had on. And that drove Bo nuts. And Frieder knew. He saw the writing on the wall.
Michigan began the 1989 season ranked 3rd in the country, and seniors Mark Hughes and Glen Rice set lofty expectations for the Wolverines.
Glen and I remember talking before practice, man, this is it. We talked about winning the Big Ten title, we talked about winning a national title. This is our last chance to get it done.
The Wolverines lived up to the hype out of the gates, thrashing number 4 Oklahoma en route to winning the Maui Classic.
Beal with the ball, goes for 2. I didn't think he had anything.
At that time, we understood that we were a pretty good team, and we wanted to come out and show it right away.
Numbers. Yep, Michigan's got him. Mills for 2. The big guy.
Oklahoma had 2 legitimate pro players. So beating that team gave this team a lot of confidence and gave the coaching staff a lot of confidence.
And the buzzer goes, and the Michigan Wolverines have won themselves the Maui Classic.
This team was ranked 2nd in the nation through most of November and December. People were thinking early in that year, this is the year this team can really do it. They've got all the pieces, and they really did have all the pieces.
A holiday tournament game against Division II Alaska Anchorage marked the start of a difficult winter.
Coach Fisher told me at the time I was a young assistant, and he said, we'll be able to name the score of this game.
That was not only stupidity, but that was the thought that every player on our team must have had because we got beat.
I remember Coach Frieder was disappointed, but it's like, hey guys, you know, this is not how you win. You know, you have to continue to fight. You can't overlook anybody.
Here comes battle.
The losses began to mount in January. 1st to 2nd ranked Illinois, then a crushing road loss to Wisconsin that stung the Wolverines' point guard.
Ramil has a chance to hit some important free throws to essentially win the game, and he missed.
Robinson's shot is on the way. No good.
Ramil is devastated. And all he kept saying is, next time I get that opportunity, I'm not going to blow it.
We come home right after the game. Ramil says to me, will you wait and rebound for me? So I went out, I rebounded as Ramil shot 100 free throws. He says, I'm never going to have that kind of moment again.
He needs help now. Mills from outside. Hughes follows. That's the one that usually wins it, the offensive rebound. And time has run out. Indiana has done celebrating.
2 days later, the Wolverines fell to Indiana. But the February rematch with the Hoosiers in Bloomington changed the course of the Michigan season.
Higgins, three-pointer.
Indiana trailed 75-73 with seconds left, but worked the ball into the hands of star guard Jay Edwards.
You're sitting in the locker room after a tough loss like that, and it just didn't make sense to us. I think it sent the message to us that we have to take this into our own hands. We can't let other people decide it for us.
At that point, I was like, look, you know what? We need to be on a mission to shock the world. That's how we got to think. We don't need to leave nothing on the table. We go out there, we put in the work. We believe in one another. We fight for one another.
When Glen made that call out, he had tears in his eyes. At that point in time, we never seen Glen feel that way, and it was unreal.
We're good. We're good, and we can beat anybody we play. I can remember him saying that. We're good, and we can beat anybody we play.
On a mission following Glen Rice's fiery speech in the wake of a second loss to Indiana, the Wolverines cruised to 5 straight victories, including a 119-point explosion against Iowa.
What's interesting about the '89 team is they seemed to play better when their backs were to the wall. They played a lot better.
We really believed in ourselves. We didn't think that we were supposed to lose any game. Those were games that we just felt that we should have won.
Senior Day at Chrysler marked the end of the regular season as Michigan welcomed number 4 Illinois. A statement game proved to be just that for the Flying Illini.
It's like, wow, this is it for us, guys. Our last game here in Chrysler. It's emotional. Next thing you know, the floodgates opened up, man, and wow, those guys were very impressive.
If you take a look at that Illinois team, they were athletic, they could jump, they could run, they could shoot, they could defend. They were just flat out tough.
It was a smackdown like I've never seen in a big game that Michigan played.
There's the lob.
89-73 was the final score, and it was much worse than that.
When we went back in that locker room after that game, I think every player probably sat there for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours before we even started to take showers. I think that one really hurt.
One of the things I told the guys, I was like, yeah, you know what? This has to hurt. This has to hurt worse than any game we have lost this year. Had to. Because it's going to prepare us going into the NCAA tournament.
Seated third in the Southeast region, the Wolverines prepared to travel to Atlanta to face Xavier. But prior to leaving, Michigan's world was turned upside down.
I like Bo, but when he became AD, things changed a little for Michigan. So that concerned me a little that he made changes on basketball. My wife and I discussed it, and that's when we decided maybe it's time to look elsewhere.
Bill called me over after practice and informed me. He said, I need you to take the team. I'll meet you in Atlanta. I'm going on the red eye to Phoenix and be announced as the Arizona State coach.
I did tell Arizona State when the season was over I was going to take the job. And word started to leak out, and would I do it differently today? Probably. But the whole thing was about being honest. I do regret the timing. And, you know, all I can say is there'll be some negatives about me at that end, but I think what's negative at that end is going to be positive at this end. I feel badly about my players, and I talked to every one of my players last night.
He probably called every single player on the team and just basically said that he had to make a decision, and his decision was he was going to take a job at Arizona State, and just told us as men and said, you guys understand that once you get older.
I had a conversation with Fred. I said, Fred, I understand. I understand, you know, you don't want to leave Michigan, but, you know, you have a family. You got to do what's best for your family. Your other family, which was us, we understand.
Freed's thought that if he would do this, it would get everything off everybody's back so there wouldn't be the rumors and it wouldn't be on the team's back. That's why Frieder took the job at that time. But it didn't work out.
Bill Frieder hoped to coach the Wolverines in the NCAA tournament, a request denied by Bo Schembechler.
I talked to Bo Wednesday morning. He just told me I can't let you coach a team in the tournament. And I said, I respect that. And I said, but you got a good man that can coach it. Make sure you give it to Coach Fisher. And he said, well, that's what I'm planning on doing.
In a way that only Bo Schembechler could say it, said that Bill was not going to be coaching the team and that I was going to be the interim coach at Michigan. Can you do the job, he said.
Steve Fisher, in his 7th season as Frieder's assistant, would make his college head coaching debut in the unforgiving spotlight of the NCAA tournament.
You could count on Steve. Steve was loyal. You could win a huge game and there's a big dinner plan and decide at the last minute you got to send him recruiting. It wouldn't bother him.
Coach Fisher had always been vocal in practices. You know, he wasn't an assistant coach that just stood on the sidelines.
To prepare the team for the coaching change, Bo Schembechler ripped a page from his football playbook and gave a speech for the ages.
The next day in the Ann Arbor News, it said if Higgins doesn't like the new coach, he'll transfer or turn pro. And so that's what led to Bo Schembechler coming down to Chrysler Arena and giving us his motivational speech.
Bo Schembechler gave us the most unbelievable motivational speech to this day of my life. Made us believe that we could climb the highest mountain. Made us believe we can run through the thickest wall.
He said that, you know, Coach Fisher is going to be the guy to coach you guys, and then all of a sudden he just went on a tangent about some of everybody.
And he looks at us and he says, you guys need to make sure you play in the game the right way. Play for the name on the front of your chest, not the name on the back.
Bo went around to each individual. Ramil, you're the quarterback of this team. You need to be the one who takes this team, you know, and runs it on the court. Mills, you're the strong guy. We need that strength underneath. Then he gets to Sean.
And he said, son, if I hear one more word out of you, I'll have your transfer papers on my desk in the morning. Do you understand me? And, you know, I just sat back, wow, Bo Schembechler recognized who I am.
We just heard from the mightiest Michigan person ever. How are we gonna let him down? And how are we gonna let ourselves down?
As soon as practice is over, they have a press conference, and I'm introduced to the press.
I don't want somebody from Arizona State coaching a Michigan team. I want that understood. A Michigan man is going to coach Michigan, and so that's the way it'll be.
It's classic defiant Bo. And Frieder was hilarious about that. Because Michigan, man, I got 2 degrees from Michigan. How many does Bo have? You know, but near 0. But that's not what a Michigan man means. A Michigan man is Bo. Bo is a Michigan man.
I'm not a Michigan grad, but I pride myself in now being a Michigan man, and I'm happy and proud to be here and hope that I'm around here for a long time.
I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Fine. Shake this off, go talk to Fisher, let him know, look, we're 110% behind you. Enjoy the ride. Told him just like that, enjoy the ride, because you know what? We're still on our mission.
At Terry Mills' house, right before we went into the tournament, when we found out Frieder was not gonna be our head coach, I go to the hallway to use the restroom, and I hear something that sounds like whimpering. And so I knock on the door, and I ask Rice, I said, Rice, you okay? And he opens the door, and his eyes are filled with tears.
By no means was I trying to shed tears in front of him. It just happened. The emotional connection I had with my teammates was for real.
That passion he had that day in Terry Mills' apartment, that's why we kick people's butt, period. That's it. You can talk about Fisher, you can talk about Bo Schembechler, you can talk about all that stuff. We were the guys who had to go out there and play.
When the Wolverines touched down in Atlanta for their first-round NCAA tournament game versus Xavier, Bill Frieder was gone from the sidelines, but not forgotten.
Bo didn't want Bill to talk to the team. Bo wanted him excommunicated, and I didn't think that was fair either.
When Coach Frieder came and spoke to us at the Omni Hotel in Atlanta, it really changed us. I know it changed me personally, because I finally figured that Coach really cared about us. We were his team. He recruited us all.
I cried. Yeah, that was tough. That was very tough, yeah. Yeah, I love those kids. I mean, those were all my kids. Those kids were a decade of hard work.
He would always call before the game. He worked along with us, but he was behind the scenes.
With Steve Fisher's coaching future uncertain, Michigan ready to face 14th-seeded Xavier.
I was so nervous before the first game, the most nervous I had ever been before a game.
He looks at me, he says, you think I even have a chance of being named the head coach? And I said, I looked at him with a straight face and said, yep, you sure do. All you have to do is win the next 6 games. We're playing Xavier. And I'm telling you, I am 99% sure if Fish doesn't win 6 games, Pete Gillen is the head coach at Michigan, the Xavier head coach. I would guarantee that. Bo loved him.
Michigan appeared headed for another early tournament exit, trailing by 6 midway through the second half, and with Ramil Robinson saddled with 4 fouls, Fisher inserted little-used guard Demetrius Calip.
He comes and he puts his hands on my face and he's like, Demetrius, I need you to just play like you played back at Flint Northern. And that was kind of like a pressure release.
Steve had faith enough in Demetrius to say, go out there, let's see what you're capable of doing. Let's see if you can shine in this moment.
Calip with it at the free throw line. 17-footer straight away. He got it! Demetrius Calip with a big basket. He's got 7.
We don't win game 1 against Xavier without Demetrius Calip coming in and having, to that point, the game of his career.
Fisher and the Michigan Wolverines move on to round 2. They turn it on in the final 5 and defeat Xavier 92-87.
Calip's 9 points in the final 10 minutes propelled Michigan to a second-round matchup against South Alabama, where the Wolverines' front court flexed its muscle.
You got Loy Vaught, who's really rebounding. And Terry Mills has now become that interior player. He has become that dominant big guy down low, and he's tough to handle with his size, not only height, but also his weight.
Coach Fisher said we wanted you to make a conscious effort on posting up, getting down in the post, being strong, and we will get you the ball. We will throw you the ball in there. And I said, well, okay, Coach, that's fine with me.
Into Mills, kicks it back out to Rice, three-pointer straight away, yes! Game's over, and the Wolverines have won it. The Wolverines move on to Lexington, Kentucky.
Mills finished with 24 points and 7 rebounds, but his effort was upstaged by Glen Rice, whose exploits elevated him from merely great to legendary. 23 points against Xavier, 36 against South Alabama, and thoughts of vengeance filled his mind as the Wolverines prepared to meet North Carolina for the 3rd straight year in the NCAA tournament.
We wanted to punish them because of the pain that we have had up to that point of losing to them 2 years in a row. We wanted to get at them.
4 seconds, Rice.
No one could stop him. You put him in the corner, you put him at the top of the key, you put him behind that line, here comes the shot.
It was one of the most amazing shooting performances of all time. They put J.R. Reed, who is a big, thuggish forward, brutish forward, and they were going to hammer at every chance. You couldn't stop him. No matter how many times he hit him, he could not stop him.
Taking baseline right, three-pointer. He got another! He got another!
Rice finished with 34, and the final 2 of Sean Higgins' 14 points iced a Michigan victory that left them 1 win away from the Final Four.
Sean Higgins, if any time he had to ever step up was on a big stage like that, and he did. He passed the test.
And it's over, and the Wolverines make it to the finals of the Southeast Regional.
When you dream about this as a little kid to beat North Carolina, you see all the great Dean Smith teams out there winning championships and going to the Final Four every other year, and this is a dream for me.
There was a sensibility of me feeling that I needed to come up in this game to show that I was the difference maker. And I think that's what was really on my heart throughout the whole tournament, to let people know that you didn't waste a scholarship on me.
Looking to reach the Final Four for the first time in 13 years, Michigan faced 5th-seeded Virginia, and the Wolverines, only 2 weeks removed from a coaching change, steamrolled the Cavaliers.
We go back in the locker room for sort of final instructions, and Terry Mills walks in and says, you know, those guys are scared. I saw them warm up and they're scared.
Higgins three-pointer, and he got it! Sean Higgins with the tray!
And it was an offensive performance that people still talk about, that Higgins and Rice from 3-point range were unstoppable.
Rice another three-pointer, he got another! Rice, unbelievable!
Virginia had a couple players on their team that I'd had some history with.
Higgins, jump hook.
These guys are stepping in our way, so we got to go ahead and smack you up a little bit.
Left wing pass to Higgins, turns, three-pointer on the way again, he got it again! Sean Higgins with 6 three-pointers.
We're dropping bombs from everywhere. I mean, it was like shots going in here and there. Everybody got into the flow. Everything was clicking.
Right side Rice, three-pointer on the way, off the bench, he got it! Rice with 30 points.
We felt that we could do no wrong. And when you feel like you can do no wrong, great things happen.
The Michigan Wolverines move on. The first team into Seattle in the Final Four. 102-65 as Steve Fisher, the interim head coach, moves on.
32 points from Rice, 31 from Higgins, and the Wolverines found themselves 2 wins from a national championship.
Cutting down the nets after that was very special because you get up there and now it's like you're going to the Final Four. You're going to the Final Four.
Yeah! Yeah!
These last 2 games, man, I can't believe you guys.
It was so exciting after we beat Virginia. And I remember Bo said in the locker room, and the cameras are rolling, he said, "You know what I want? I want Illinois."
You know damn well you can win this whole thing. And you know what I hope? I hope we get Illinois.
And as a young assistant, I'm going, wow, we better be careful what we wish for.
Awaiting Michigan in the Final Four, a familiar foe, the Flying Illini, the only team to have beaten the Wolverines by double digits all season, a feat they accomplished twice.
They're a great team. They're very athletic. They're a great defensive-minded team. But so what? We're a better team than that in all phases, and we're going to prove it.
I got to give Coach Fisher credit here. They beat us to the glass. And Coach said, look, if we cut down on these offensive rebounds, guys will win the game.
They are actually playing with some precision on offense, some cohesion on offense, which we hadn't seen all year. They were actually making teams work on defense. That's how you beat Illinois.
It's a grudge match down to the wire. Michigan took a punch and landed one right back. Punch, 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 punch. This was a heavyweight knockout battle. And I'll tell you what, no fan in that game could have ever asked for their money back. That was unbelievable basketball.
Glen Rice poured in 28 points. And with the score tied at 81 in the closing seconds, Michigan wanted their sharpshooter to take the final shot.
The game plan was to get the ball to Glen. Glen was supposed to come off of a double screen, and I remember him coming off, and he wasn't open.
Robinson backing in, needs help. Cross-court it goes to Terry Mills, baseline right with 7.
In all actuality, I thought the shot was good. You know, it was straight. You know, he lined it up. He was square to the basket.
I'm not going to say it was out of my range, but I'm quite disappointed that I didn't make it, you know, because as years went on, I probably could make that shot in my sleep.
Steve Fisher all year would talk about if they shoot it from the right side, you have to position on that backside. And Sean Higgins stepped in, he wedged Nick Anderson.
Long-range jumper misses. Rebound Higgins, back up and in with 2 seconds. 1 second left on the clock. Illinois uses their last timeout. Rebound basket, Sean Higgins. Michigan on top, 83-81 with 1 second remaining.
Nick Anderson didn't box out. And, you know, a lot of people try to say that I pushed off on the rebound, which that's all Illinois fans that say that. Most of the time, people need the backboard to bank it in, or you might see a little bit of rim noise. That shot didn't hit nothing but the twine.
Bardo runs the baseline, launches it down court. Rice intercepts. The game's over. Michigan's going to the national title game Monday night.
When I had the ball in my hand, I realized at that point that it was over. The mission was almost completed.
We felt vindicated from them having murdered us, you know, in the 2 previous games before that game, because this one was for all the marbles. This one was to go to the national championship game.
We talk about our goals at the beginning of the year, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. Everybody says it. The national championship seems so far away, but we're here now, and it's just like a dream come true because we've been saying this from day one.
The lone hurdle between Michigan and their first ever NCAA basketball title, a 31-win Seton Hall team that defeated Duke in the other semifinal.
Andrew Gaze was the hot hand of the tournament. He'd really led them to the championship game. If we were going to win, I had to stop him.
We thought we were the better team. Glen played like Glen. And if anybody else just stepped up a little bit, we thought we had a really good chance of winning us the national championship.
Left side Rice, 1 step, he got the jam with the right hand.
It reached the point, especially in Seattle, when a Glen Rice miss was a surprise.
Here's Rice responding with a 3.
Rice led Michigan with 31, earning the Most Outstanding Player award with a tournament record 184 points in 6 games. The Wolverines built a 10-point lead before the second half evolved into a duel between Rice and Pirates guard John Morton.
You could see that Seton Hall was building momentum, and now, you know, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Like, uh-oh, this is getting close. And I think it was John Morton. He just started hitting shots, you know, from everywhere.
Seton Hall brings Morton up with the layup. The Hall's ahead.
For me as a competitor, when you got somebody that's lighting it up on the other team, you accept that challenge.
Nail-biting time. Rice off the screen. 3-pointer on the way. He got it off balance. Glen Rice with 5 3-pointers and 29 points.
They could have had 5 Johnny Mortons out there, and we still felt that we could have won that game.
And Morton with a hot hand. He'll jack up the 3. And time for Michigan.
With the score tied in the closing seconds, Rice had the chance to be the hero.
Play was drawn up for me to come off screen and get the last shot.
Rice off a screen, turns, right-hand jumper up, doesn't drop, rebound, Seton Hall, we're going to overtime.
I mean, that was a shot I hit with my eyes closed most of the time. It's just unfortunate, it just rolled right off the rim. Quickly, I was like, okay, don't worry about it. We're going into overtime. We still got our team, we still got our horses, and we're fine.
Back out, Morton, 3-pointer straight away. High archer, nothing but net for Morton. Morton with 35 in the game.
Now all of a sudden, they're 3 points ahead late in the game.
With less than a minute remaining in overtime, Terry Mills cut the lead to 1. And a Michigan defensive stop gave the Maize and Blue a chance for the win.
Seton Hall will have to hurry. Morton will go one-on-one, up high, short.
We obviously elected not to take a timeout when we secured the rebound. We gave the ball to our point guard that had led us all year. We wanted the ball in his hands. He pushed the ball to the basket.
They've got to hurry. 5 seconds. Robinson goes and foul call with 3 seconds. A foul against Seton Hall with 3 seconds.
I've actually talked to Johnny Morton about this, and they're all convinced, of course, it was not a foul. It was a tough call.
Was there a bump? Yeah. Did he have to call a foul? He called a foul. And I think that most of the game, they had been consistent with how they had called it.
Ramil Robinson with an opportunity to put Michigan ahead.
When they called timeout, we all headed back into the huddle. No one really said anything to Ramil. It's kind of like, let's leave Ramil alone, and he knows what he has to do.
I remember we lost to Wisconsin earlier in the year, and he missed 2 free throws that could have won the game for us. So it's poetic justice that Ramil was presented another opportunity to be in that situation.
Ramil, couple of deep breaths. Free throw is up, and it's in. Nothing but net for Ramil Robinson. We've got a tie ball game. He's got 20. 79 all with 3 seconds remaining.
I looked at Ramil, and he's standing there by himself. I have to give him some words of encouragement. And there's a phrase that Ramil always used, and that was, God helps those that helps themselves. And I said, well, that's probably a perfect thing to tell a guy who's sitting there with the weight of the world on his shoulders.
We're either going to win it or we're going to play another 5 minutes. But my thought was, we don't want another 5 minutes. We want this to end and end now.
Me personally, I had no doubt about it. He was prepared for that moment.
Robinson, one more free throw, can put the Wolverines back on top, and he does! Nothing but net for Ramil Robinson with 21, 80-79. Michigan up by 1, 3 seconds remaining.
And in that moment, Ramil Robinson won the national championship for Michigan.
Ramos, baseball pass the other way. It comes to Walker and Green. Walker turns, forces, misses. Michigan has won the national title! Michigan has won the NCAA basketball title for 1989.
People always say that it takes 2 or 3 weeks to set in the accomplishment. For me, it was instantaneous.
I didn't know how to control the emotion. I was running all over the place. Instant, overcome with joy. I've never cried uncontrollably like that. I actually had tears.
We made eye contact with my dad, and my mom and brother got ushered down. I just remember so badly wanting to be on the floor and to just jump into my dad's arms and celebrate.
We got onto the podium. Then I'm kind of in a whirlwind to replay, reflect on what had just happened over a 3-week period.
I've seen all great players hold this and great teams hold this, I don't know. But this is truly something right here.
All the guys that we came in here and we said 1, 2, 3, mission accomplished.
I had a moment where I just sat back and I looked around at the players. I was taken aback because we had a mission. Great run for us. It was over because now we win a national championship.
Mission accomplished, baby! Here it is!
Less than 24 hours after claiming Michigan's first basketball championship, a joyous Wolverine team returned to Chrysler Arena to continue the celebration.
We come in and it's packed inside of here, standing room only. It's just enough room for us to walk down the middle and come up on stage.
You come back and you get an opportunity to be in front of them, and now they get to embrace the whole situation and enjoy the moment with you. That too is what it's all about.
This championship will go down in history as one of the great accomplishments in all of Michigan athletics.
An unknown assistant coach 3 weeks earlier, Steve Fisher was now a White House guest with his team soon to follow.
President and Mrs. Bush, Steve and Angie Fisher, Millie the dog. We walk through the Rose Garden with security. You say, how could this happen to anybody? And it's happening to us.
Go for it. Right here, we got a little demonstration.
Ramil got a chance to reenact the free throws on the Rose Garden in front of George Bush Sr. and Vice President Quayle.
President Bush gave Ramil the ball, and Ramil made the first one. And then he was supposed to take the second one. Everything, obviously, at the White House is very scripted. And Ramil handed the ball to the president, and he said, Mr. President, you're the best under pressure. You make this one.
I believe very strongly that you're going to see a new, fresh, exciting era of Michigan basketball. And so here's our new coach, Steve Fisher.
Exactly 1 week after winning the title, Fisher had the term interim removed from his title when he was named head coach of the Wolverines.
I didn't have a 3-hour interview with Bo Schembechler. I had a 3-week interview that he watched like the whole country did as we played.
Bo gave Steve Fisher a head coaching job. He was interim head coach, and kind of hard to fire the guy that just gave you a national title.
To have an opportunity to be the head basketball coach at such a prestigious academic athletic institution such as Michigan defies description in words.
A lot of people have asked, would this team have been able to do what they did under Steve Fisher if Bill Frieder had been head coach?
Joe Blow, I think, could have sat over there and won that championship. And that's not to knock the coaches. I think, in a sense, it's giving praise to them because of how well prepared they had us.
Bill Frieder was the architect of that era of Michigan basketball. He recruited every player on that team. He coached every player on that team. We gave Bill a championship ring. He hired me at Michigan, gave me the opportunity to coach with him in that program. Forever indebted to that fact.
I was very proud of him. I pulled for him every inch of the way. We won't know if it would have happened if I was the head coach, so that's why I've always had a positive attitude about it. We won the national championship. That's Michigan's greatest basketball accomplishment.
A guy named Dan Morris had been sending me messages predicting our victories, preparing to play Seton Hall. He had sent me a message, don't worry about a thing, you're going to win, and Mark Hughes is going to be the hero of the game for you.
Ramil Robinson comes down the lane. Had they not called a foul, I have the ball, and I have an open lane to the basket. And, I got a feeling that my picture would have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated.